r/AskReddit by Redical. Lawyers of Reddit. What is a case you are glad you lost? Not me, but a senior lawyer I met at a law school event. Before he went into civil litigation, he used to be a prosecutor. He told me of a case where an accused was facing murder charges. He was the prosecutor responsible for handling the file. He was convinced of the accused's guilt and had substantial evidence pointing in the accused's direction. The senior lawyer fought hard to secure a conviction, but the accused had excellent counsel who created doubt and identified defects in the evidence. The accused was acquitted. The senior lawyer was pissed. Many years later, however, new evidence emerged showing decisively that the accused definitely did not commit the crime and, in fact, it was another person. The senior lawyer said that he was happy he lost the case because, if he prevailed, an innocent man could have spent years in prison. I was on a jury for a murder trial this summer. We convicted and sent a kid to Texas prison for 30 years. It haunts me. I hope to all things I made the right decision. I completely understand. Many years ago I sat on a jury for 3 defendants. Ages 15, 16, and 18. I think they were using RICO. They were all part of a gang in LA. The 18-year-old was a piece of shit and can rot. But I wasn't convinced about the 16-year-old. I was more sure about the 15-year-old, but not entirely convinced. Plus, it sucked because his mom was clearly active in the gang. And they all lived in the projects. For some reason, I got the impression that he was basically sold into the gang without a choice. They each had 1 count of murder, 1 and 2 counts of attempted murder, among others. Plus a bunch of stipulations. They were found guilty on everything. I spent years searching for the sentencing papers because I was always curious what sentence they actually received. But I could never find them. I think the reality was that, subconsciously, I never wanted to find them. Less than a year ago, I did. They had been online for a long time. I couldn't read through them. I kind of didn't want to know what happened. But I did skip to the end and found out. The older guy, again, duck him, got life without the possibility of parole. But the 16-year-old did too. The 15-year-old did originally. But his lawyer argued some technicality, so he received only 50 years. I kind of just blocked it out. But I'll never forget some key moments in that courtroom or the walkout after the verdict. The problem was, I wasn't a proper juror. I was alternate number 1. I don't know what was deliberated. But the jury only took about a day and a half to come to a conclusion. Which is probably fast given the total of 60 or so things they had to decide. My guess is that it only took that long because it took that long to fill out all the paperwork. If there's some sort of playback in life, I would want few things more than to go back in time and be a fly on the wall to know what everyone said. I'll never know that. I'll never know the truth. I'll never know if they really did it. I'll never know much of anything. But I'll also never stop thinking about it. I'm not a lawyer, but I remember being in a reporting class and shadowing a court reporter at a trial. The accused was this guy in his late 30s who, along with a few other guys, had broken into this house and terrorized a family they mistakenly believed had a stash of drugs. While no one was killed, some of the details were pretty repulsive. There was enough physical evidence against the others that they all took plea deals. But there was apparently no physical DNA evidence against the man a day of whose trial we attended. During a recess, the reporter met with the lawyers. The public defender told him, "I just hope nobody hates me for defending this guy." The accused was found guilty and received a 55-year sentence, which at his age could well mean he'll spend the rest of his life behind bars. Got any link? I was appointed to do a review hearing for a guy that had been deemed a sexually violent predator. After serving 20 years in prison for 2 abduction rapes, he had been committed to a state hospital under the SVP statute. He got an annual review to see if he should continue to be held, which is what I was handling. I fundamentally disagree with this law, but I'm glad I lost that one. All of the discovery materials from his old cases were provided to me. Raped one woman while holding her boyfriend at gunpoint and shot the second one when she fought back. He was a suspect in a half dozen more where he wasn't prosecuted. Dude is a flat out serial rapist and it wouldn't surprise me if there were some murdered women in his wake as well. I hope he never gets out. Gee. I certainly hope that no fellow prisoners learn how vile that man is. And given that he may have started with much younger victims, clears throat. He's in a state hospital with nothing but other sex offenders. I presented a domestic violence case for civil protection order for a parent who had custody of 2 kids. Got lots of evidence of defendant showing up and screaming at my client. Past history of abuse. Corroborating testimony from family members of my client. The night before trial, our client finally gives us 2+ years of Instagram, phone, and Facebook messaging. Our client and defendant's new partner taunt each other, sending photos as defendant goes back and forth between them. Defendant is focused only on getting visitation with the children, repeatedly asks to see them, sets up a date, and my client misses the handoff and taunts defendant. Defendant shows up to court and will clearly be asking me anything on the stand. My client is not. We negotiated a settlement that included specific visitation and helped our client finally begin divorce proceedings, which would, as part of them, have a judge make a determination on the best interest of the children, which would be way more shared visitation than these two could work out between themselves. Our clients wanted to use the court to avoid sharing custody out of spite. But what our client and the children needed was stability, not more drama. I used to work for a law firm specializing in subrogation cases on behalf of insurance companies. Basically, if you file an insurance claim for something that wasn't your fault, your insurance company will pay you, but then go after the person whose fault it was to recover their money. My lowest point as a lawyer involved a customer who made a claim for a car accident. The accident happened because a dog ran out into the street and the car didn't have enough time to stop. Unfortunately, the dog was killed in the impact. There was also some damage to the car, which the insurance company paid to the car owner. But it turned out there was an ordinance in the accident location requiring dogs to be on a leash in public areas at all times. Meaning, technically the dog owner was at fault in the accident. So my job was to write a demand letter to the owner of the dog who just died, demanding that he pay for the damage that was caused to the car during the accident that killed his dog. The dog owner never responded, and luckily the insurance company decided it wasn't worth additional legal fees of pursuing it further. It just about killed me to write that letter. Luckily I don't work there anymore and haven't done any subrogation work since. Leash laws are serious. Back when I was an EMT, a co-worker hit an unleashed dog in a mandatory leash zone. Had to stop his response, and they had to send another unit. You shouldn't feel bad about that at all. Unless that dog somehow either escaped from a fenced yard or broke its lead. Then it was 100% negligence on the owner's part not to have their dog on a leash. I know leash laws may seem like a nuisance, but they are just as much for the pet's protection as humans. Dogs love to chase things and especially love chasing cars. Any responsible dog owner that truly loved their pet would have taken the time to train them to not run into the street and would have them on a leash. That owner obviously didn't care enough about their dog to do either of those things, so they probably weren't as broken up about it as a pet lover like yourself was. And they were 100% responsible for that accident and should pay. Think of how that poor driver must have felt not being able to stop in time. And now their insurance rates likely went up because of an irresponsible owner. Ease your conscience, friend. You did no wrong. You are probably looking for a heartfelt story about how a client was in the wrong and the lawyer lost the case but saved his conscience. Most likely though, it is just a case that we are happy to get it over and done with because the client was a giant douche and we are glad we don't ever have to talk to him anymore. Once about a year ago, I went into a law lecture at my university. I was bored, so I figured, why not? And there was a lawyer speaking and a question was asked and one came up about what do you do if you're working a case that your client is clearly guilty. I remember the answer being that you can't sabotage anything or the like. You just sorta gotta deal with it. You aren't being paid to throw your client under the bus no matter how guilty. But anyway, this one guy was stealing cars. And everything about the guy with clear car stealer. Had the bogan look. Owned a Holden Commodore. In Australia it's literally that car, you know? And he had a girlfriend that was pissed with him the entire time. Now he was spouting innocence, but he was being a real douchebag about it. Even to the lawyer. The lawyer guy just did his job and the guy was found guilty, and boy was the lawyer glad he lost that. I guess it would suck, you know? Trying to help a guy that's guilty as sin and being a total douchebag about it. Not sure how long the guy got, but I'm sure it's a while. I think if the lawyer knows his client is guilty, his part is to make sure that the trial is fair and that procedures are followed. His client might be guilty, but he can't allow the laws to broken to get the conviction. Yep. If there's one thing all these lawyer threads have taught me, it's that defense attorneys defend the law and the judicial procedure more than the client. They're basically refs. I might be in the minority, but I'm not happy when I lose any case. I hate losing. And if I'm going to trial on a case, I'm never playing to lose. Once a case reaches trial, there is no point in doing anything else, except whatever you can to win. I've defended some people accused of some pretty nasty things. My caseload these days consists of a number of murders and serious rapes. I've tried quite a few of them. I've won several, and lost a couple, and I hate every loss. Those stick with you, and can really eat away at you if you're not careful. I don't do this job to lose. Did some of my clients probably deserve the prison sentence they got? According to the judge, yes they did. Maybe even according to the law they did. But I was still upset when I lost the argument to keep them out of prison. Trial psychosis is real. And it's how I do my job. If you don't believe you can win, and should win, you can't be a great trial lawyer. I appreciate your honesty. I mean, besides a personal drive to win, there's just the fact that any suspect who has a lawyer that's not trying their absolute best to win is not getting a fair trial. None. Because I do plaintiff's work and criminal defense in private practice, I get to choose my own clients and represent the real people with real problems. Pedo. We like to call it farewell. My turnabout. For anyone wondering about the username, I'll let my dad write the response. He's the lawyer, I'm not. Thanks for watching. Subscribe for 3 videos a day.